Hello and welcome to another episode of The Content Show, coming to you on YouTube, LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live. Today we've got a great episode. I'm talking to, as usual, our editorial content director, David Austin in Singapore.
I may just say that I'm not coming into the office again. I think I might just stay here.
And introducing our editorial content director, Tim Coleman from Sydney.
I work from home anyway, so no real difference.
We're going to be discussing some new figures that have come out from LinkedIn and some others from Google about what we're all saying and watching and searching online. A lot of it is COVID-19, but that story is changing. So some interesting insights to be had about that. Also to note, the news audience for COVID-19 coverage has started dropping. So the story is starting to change there, and that's something to be aware of if you're in the branded content space like we are. Then we have a great interview with Timmy Sitango and Kristen Bowen from Branded. Branded is the company that brings you the All That Matters event in Singapore. It's an amazing event. It's made up of music matters and sport matters and digital matters. And we're going to be talking to them about how they're grappling with having to shift their events online and what they're doing. Really interesting chat about platforms and tech stacks and content and how to manage it all.
It's this continuing experiment.
Finally, our scripted content director, Artarak Metsianov, and I chat about the latest branded content releases.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but I'm Russian, so it's forgivable.
And that's it. So over to David and Tim. Okay, and we are now with David Austin in Singapore and Tim Coleman, our colleague Tim Coleman in Sydney. Welcome both. David, how's your isolation going?
Going just fine, Simon. Yeah, same as it ever was.
And Tim, how about you?
Mine's fine. I work from home anyway, so no real difference.
This week in Confidential, we're looking at marketing insights during COVID-19, and LinkedIn released some behaviour data related to the pandemic. User conversations around coronavirus have grown by 7 times, largely associated with the hashtags prevention, safety, and well-being. Tim, what does the detail of this look like?
Well, it just means people are engaging, I guess, about this particular topic as they are everywhere. I mean, another stat that came out from that was a 2,196% increase just in content about COVID that's being shared on LinkedIn.
Have we reached peak COVID content?
I feel we have. And I find it quite strange that brands need to keep going on about COVID to a degree. I mean, I'm not sure if a lot of this is just colleagues sharing information about it, which I could see as being more relevant, but brands keep going on about it. I don't know if that works a lot for me.
Yeah, I think brands might be a bit late to this. I was looking at the Neiman Lab reported today that traffic to news sites is now trending down. Like the story is getting tired. People are switching off it because there's nothing new. There's no good news at the moment. Yeah. So if brands have taken this long to get on board and start producing some content, they're already on the back foot. And this goes back to what we were talking about last week, David, on terms of the agility of brands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, I was going to say, I mean, it's obvious because at least we saw with some of our own clients at the very early stage, the COVID content was getting a lot of clicks compared to everything else. So that obviously encouraged everyone to just keep feeding that, responding to that big demand. And now I think we've saturated it. We've seen that it's saturated. And I think now it's incumbent upon all of us to start thinking ahead to what is the next trend going to be, how are people going to get out of this story into the next story, and how can we think about 2 weeks down the road, I think, to start looking at what the next story should be.
Like you are planning for when this all the bans are lifted and stuff like that. And that's where I think brands can actually talk about it. I never understood how something that's very scientific, how a brand that sells soft drinks would have anything really relevant to say about COVID to a degree. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be helpful, really. I mean, a lot of the stuff we have done, I guess, is for small business in some of our stuff. And, you are giving them helpful tips on how to operate in this situation. I can see the value of that. But if you're, pens or something. What are you really adding to the conversation?
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of brands have probably been been very cautious about putting content out at the moment. I mean, the consequences of a misstep are potentially catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
Absolutely.
David? You were looking at the Google data. What's the latest Google data that's been released?
Yeah, well, so Google released their findings on how search behavior has changed during COVID-19. And again, this is all kind of, I guess, a lagging indicator. We'd want to think about where it's going to go from here. But the way that it's changed to this point is really interesting. They said that there's been, like, they call it 5 shifts in consumer search behavior. Now people are searching for assembling critical information, discovering new connections, adjusting to changes in their routines, and praising everyday heroes are 4 of them. And I thought we could just go through a bit of that. Some of the interesting things, like assembling critical information, like retail consumers, the search for things like, can you freeze different types of food? You know, people trying to prepare for this stocking up and this long home self-isolation period, and more helpful things that brands could possibly provide an answer to questions like mortgage rate suspensions, you know, and I think we do have some B2B customers that are offering advice on how to deal with these kind of business problems that are concerning a lot of people. When it comes to, like, connections and relationships, I thought this was really interesting. For example, on YouTube, with me videos are up 54% year over year.
What are with me videos?
Yeah, I didn't know either. Like, study with me. Like, Simon, would you like to study with me live on YouTube?
No.
Okay, well, apparently some people do, and some of them make a little bit more sense, like disinfect with me, or.
So you're doing household chores just with a complete stranger?
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh, sanitize with me. Oh my god.
Yeah, but then and then obviously, like,
20 seconds with me.
Actually, this is a slight segue, but I was on Amazon the other day, and there's a segment on Amazon which was actually says sex and sensuality, and it had a photo of a woman, a nurse with a mask on and a face visor. I don't know what happened with their AI there, but they must have fucked that one up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that tells about our future.
Well, you're locked in a house.
Yeah. Yeah, but then of course other things that would make sense, you know, like virtual happy hours are really appearing. The spike, in interest for that, multiplayer video games has spiked. That's all not that surprising in this situation.
Well, didn't Twitch get something like last month 1.2 billion pieces of content was streamed?
Yes. Yeah.
On gaming, that's even just watching games being played.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's game with me, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
That's again one of those accelerated due to everybody being home. And lastly,
Well, so
one
the
of them
question
was.
is, will people go out?
I'm sorry, Tim. Say that again.
Will people go out after this is over? If their life becomes so, you know, they're changing their behaviours, so to speak.
Yeah. That's a good question. That's kind of a good topic to look at for, you know, the next wave of topics. Yeah.
I think that's a good piece of content to end on. So, Tim, what's the first thing you're going to do that you can't do now?
Send the kids to school. And then go to the pub.
What about you?
Then go to a gig.
What about you, David?
Well, I may just say that I'm not coming into the office again. I think I might just stay here.
To be honest, that's fine, because I'm thinking of changing the office a bit, just to sort of make it more like a train station.
Okay, yeah. With a platform?
Yeah, we can have a platform. I was going to just put some more comfy chairs in there, get rid of some of the desks, and make it a bit more of a sort of a lounge area.
Okay.
I know I'm looking forward to going back to the office, because I enjoy going for a swim at the pool in the office every day, and I've been missing that, something terrible. And as soon as I go for my swim, as soon as I've done with that, I'm going straight to the pub too.
Okay. All right, we have our next blog post planned.
Exactly.
I don't think I've been in an office, worked out of an office for about 4 years now. So I want my house back.
Well, wait till we open a smaller Sydney office then.
I'll work from home.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Tim.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, you're watching The Content Show. I'm Simon Kearney from Click to View. And up next, our interview with the guys from Branded, Timmy Sitango and Kristen Bowen. Welcome to the Content Show, Kristen Bowen and Timmy Sitango from Branded.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Tell me about the challenges of going from doing great live events, like you guys do amazing live events, to suddenly being in an online world. What have you done and what's it been like?
So the first thing that happened was we had to figure out priorities around what we needed to invest in digitally and what could wait. So it was really a business decision around that, as you can imagine, because Branded's business is our own live events, but we also have client events. So there was a lot of things to weigh out. And then luckily, Kristen has been running the All That Matters event for years. And so what we could do then was come together as a team and figure out, well, what is it that we can do now for clients who happen to be at home? Because everyone literally is at home. And usually our speakers who attend All That Matters are flying around, and it takes 6 months, right, to put the program together. And so we found ourselves with this opportunity to maybe bring people together quickly, but still do it at the level that wasn't your usual webinar, because we actually have our clients are in the entertainment industry, so they, there is no chance that we could pull this off with your usual corporate webinar. So that was like the next step, like figuring out what could we do that was still branded, that still had that look and that level of production to it, but kind of took into account the current normal that we're in.
Have you had to examine the value proposition much?
We're in the midst of that now, actually.
Just tell me about the event itself that you did. How did it go? What did you do? Like what did you actually sort of do in terms of platform and deciding how to present it?
Kristen, do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. So Branded and partnerships, as Timmy said, working with partners is a big thing for Branded. Jasper called upon some of his some friends, lucky enough to get Twitch. So Sunita moved to Twitch recently. So we were very lucky to get them on board as a partner. And what better way to live stream your first event but through a platform like that. So we were extremely lucky. What we found also from the results and from feedback from people is that it was just such an accessible platform as well, because although from a point of view of quantifying looking at the results and registrations and that sort of thing, obviously we used Eventbrite to make sure that we were capturing registrations, but it was also accessible for people to just jump straight on our Branded Live channel and watch it as well. So of course we felt that the viewership, we're really happy with that as well. We brought on a very experiest John Wigglesworth with Mixed Signal.
Yeah. Shout out to Wiggs.
Yeah, Wiggs. He was integral, obviously, with the tech. And we were just lucky to catch Singapore still open, although just barely the week before the circuit break happened there. And so we were really lucky. We got Ebenex Live Studio. So I think really it was the partnership with all of that. And then, of course, being able to call upon, the caliber of speaker that we were able to get through our previous events, and it all just sort of worked. So the idea to have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, so that we were targeting both audiences. Obviously, our community is global, so we were able to pull that off as well, all in the one day. But I think definitely the team, bringing everybody together really worked, and that's sort of the core again of Branded.
If I can add, Simon, one of the things that we also had to work out, like to your point around value proposition, is this was really an experiment. And initially we thought, oh, let's do it in Jasper's living room, because we weren't sure whether we would even be allowed to fit everyone in at the Nexus studio. But then Wiggs, in all his wisdom, said, I'd really prefer that we try and do it in the studio while we still can. And so that was how that happened, and we're glad we did. But it's this continuing experiment. So the next one we're going to do, which we're planning now, is going to have to be in the living room. So we're going to see how that goes, because we're not going to have a lot of that equipment.
Yeah, I guess that's why I wanted to interview you guys. Like, I'm really interested in, what's best practice for this in terms of like the content, the duration, all of these types of things.
Yeah, I can speak a bit to how we sorted out the content. There were a lot of just almost daily brainstorms, really. Like we were watching a lot of stuff since February. Like behind the scenes, there was maybe a month of kind of light research and then more panicked research around and just having all these different experiences. And then we knew that there were a few things we had to get right. We knew that engagement was our number one priority, because all of us would easily drift away from a lot of the events online that we watched. So keeping things short is something that we know works. Short in the sense that you can't have one speaker speaking for 45 minutes unless you're Bill Gates, talking about the vaccine. And so if you notice in the way we structured it, we did have 3 speakers, but each of them kind of had like a 5-7 minute chat with Nick or Jasper, and then we jumped very quickly into questions. And that was the other thing that we know works, because the platform was so accessible and there's a built-in chat. That really helped keep the engagement up from minute one. Like, we were glad to see that there were chatters in the room from the first minute, and people were asking questions without much prompting. And so I think that's also a credit to being able to use a platform that people were easily familiar with, even though some of them may never have been on Twitch before. The interface was, it's not any different from Hangouts, for example, or any other live stream / chat platform. So that was the other thing that we found really helped, and we're going to continue to do.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go on, Kristen.
No, I was just going to add to that, and because we've all been in live events, which of course we wouldn't change for the world, because we all want to get back to those. But we've all been in live events where it gets to question time, and it's sort of like, oh gosh, come on, someone please raise their hand. You're standing there with the microphone waiting. But in this forum, the engagement is just through the roof. Questions. It was my job sitting here in Sydney to sort of sift through the questions and make sure the content. We were also worried that perhaps people might say negative things or anything like that. We had nothing like that. We were ready, but we just had nothing like that. And the engagement was it was just terrific. Like, we had too many questions, to the point where we could have a follow-up session with each speaker to just ask them the questions that there we go. That's our next event. We could easily do that. Yeah. So the engagement was great. Really, really good.
Fantastic. I love how it's a gaming platform that's like saving the world at the moment. Did you look at many other platforms?
Oh my God, Kristen, how many platforms did we look at?
We're still looking.
Yeah.
They just come out of the woodwork, actually.
Yeah. I mean, actually, what we're also learning through all of this is there's no one-size-fits-all platform. Like, for what we did, which is, like a free event, something you can put together fairly quickly. I mean, we put it together under 2 weeks. We'd obviously want more time, but we could put it together under a small period of time, and we'd had a manageable number of speakers, platforms you could use out of the box, then something like this works. But then if we were to try to figure out how to bring our 200 speaker conference together, which we're in the midst of doing now, the number of platforms we've looked at, like we're still looking, and we'll get a link from someone in the team every day saying, oh, someone recommended this, someone recommended that. So we have a short list, and we're happy to share that more maybe down the road, maybe write something up about it so people can like look at our notes and stuff. But we also found that there's no one size fits all, but also we probably can't do with just one. We might need to have like maybe a stack, depending on the formats we want.
Yeah, we just did a webinar for a client, and we stacked up six pieces of software using them all together at the same time.
Wow, what are they?
It was so we used StreamYard to manage the video sources, OBS Studio to do the stream, and then there were 4 other pieces of software that I don't remember the names of, and then there was I think the registration was done on a custom built landing page, and then the Q&A was done through something else, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing as well. I mean, I know Wig's used vMix, which for the actual live streaming production element, but we also probably could have done with 2 or 3 other pieces of technology. So our Q&A, although it worked, was very basic. Well, I mean, getting the Q&A through the live stream just worked, like a treat. But then getting that through to our speakers in the studio, that took a whole nother process as well. So there are so many layers, and we're all learning. I think is definitely where we're at. As Timmy said, it was an experiment. It worked though, but the goalposts are changing every day. As Timmy said as well, we're not going to be able to produce the same event. But we're up for it. We're all learning and all sort of taking in all of this new technology.
Wonderful. Well, look, thanks very much for talking with me this morning and being on our content show. It's a brave new world for all of us.
Thank you. This is fun.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Hello, you're watching The Content Show. I'm Simon Kearney from Click to View, and up next I'm talking with our scripted content director and Singapore's most famous Russian comedian, Arturek Matsianov, about the branded content new releases of the week. Welcome back to The Content Show. I'm Simon Kearney, and I'm joined today by our scripted content director and Singapore's most famous and best Russian comedian, Arturek Matsianov.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Simon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How's your isolation?
My isolation is okay. The wife and I are getting on pretty well, considering. She's been giving me tips on how I present to camera.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'll share that at some point.
I can actually use them now in practice while recording.
Yeah, well, we may cut to that.
Okay.
So this week, first I wanted to ask you about a video that we didn't put in our newsletter, but it's particularly pertinent to what we do, and it's by Media Monks. So it's shot just before Singapore went into its own lockdown, and shot in Singapore. But it's a socially distanced video production, which was really interesting, and it was quite a high-end thing. So can you tell us a bit about what they put into play to make this happen?
Yeah, sure. So they posted a short video. It's kind of like a case study how they make this safe product shoot, safe studio product shoot. I think it was probably for some apple juice because there were a lot of apples there involved. But essentially, they tried to maintain the whole social distancing thing. So they show, like, in a wide shot, the whole studio setup. There is a huge crane with camera. Then director is in one corner. The art director is in another corner. And also, I think the clients are live streaming and they can give their comments. And also, everyone is wearing gloves. They sanitize all the equipment, all the products. So just to make sure that everything is really, really safe. So I guess the message is that you can continue video production even during the times like this.
Yeah, I love that. They also had one of those beautiful motion control robo cams, which was just pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's gangster. That I think Toby from Media Monk said that they were shipping all that equipment they'd shipped all that equipment to China now, so they can continue production in China, which has started to open up. Speaking of lockdown, we produced a couple of animated videos for Visa, sharing tips and tricks, safe online shopping and phishing prevention. Can these are your productions, Arta? Can you tell us a bit about these?
Yeah, it was always it's been always fun to work on this short motion graphics videos for Visa. They're usually always fun. So essentially now everyone's working and shopping from home. And of course, we see the huge increase in scams and phishing attempts. And basically, Visa, as the payment provider, they are worried about all these things, and they just give some fun tips on how to avoid scammers, paying attention to the websites that you're using. Don't click on any suspicious links in text messages or social media posts. So kind of all the basic stuff, but just a gentle, kind reminder for everyone to stay safe.
Nice. And Volkswagen, they've put out a video about how the tactics used in football, or soccer as we like to call it in Australia, can be used to battle COVID-19.
Yeah, it's a very emotional video for the fans of football, as I prefer it to be called. And essentially we have a big thing that Euro 2020 has become now Euro 2021. So of course everyone was waiting for this championship, and the voiceover narration kind of talks about how this unexpected opponent appeared and no one knows how to tackle it. But if we all believe in the team spirit, if we all support each other, we will make it through. And in the end, it's revealed that the voiceover is actually the voice of the coach of the German team, Joachim Löw. And Volkswagen, I think, they're supporting the German team in the Euro. So it's kind of inspirational, and I'm sure every football fan is waiting for all the championships and the Euro to resume again.
And another one from Huawei this week, a glimpse into its East meets West collaborative product design process. Huawei does a lot of content.
Yeah, actually, they really ramped up it, and that's a very interesting story showing the multicultural environment and how the teams collaborate. And it's basically set up in France, and you have a Chinese designer and French designer, and they both share their approaches. For example, the French guy is starting with a story and then working on the details. And so the Chinese lady, she usually says she starts with details and then comes up with the story. And then they just share the tips and how they work together, and how this international culture basically helps to provide the better design for the products of Huawei.
Nice. And finally, a video from Barry Callebaut, is that right?
Yeah, Barry Callebaut.
Okay, so now you have a bit of a maybe you're a fanboy of these guys. Tell us about. I didn't even know what Barry Callebaut was.
Fanboy probably is a bit too much, but I definitely have some memories, because Barry Callebaut is a Swiss headquartered chocolate manufacturer, one of the biggest B2B chocolate manufacturers in the world. And when I did my master's degree, they were the first company that I actually applied to get an internship with. So they rejected me, so I can't forgive them for that. So I've been tracking everything they do. And now they did a really cool thing. That's kind of
creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but I'm Russian, so it's forgivable. So they basically introduced the world's first 3D printing machine for chocolate. So the chefs now can send unique designs, and this 3D machine will basically print, so you can go as crazy as you want. And that's one of the biggest innovations in the chocolate manufacturing world.
Wow. You couldn't get, it would be quite good working for a chocolate manufacturer, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're selling for them, you're selling chocolate. It's a wonderful thing to do.
Amazing. That's like the dream come true, right? The childhood dream come true.
Absolutely. Willy Wonka.
Yep.
Arta, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for watching another episode of The Content Show, brought to you by Click to View. I'm Simon Kearney. Thanks for being with us.